Remind me what your goals are that you want to be able to work on.
I would like to be a pianist for church.
Okay.
I want to be able to play hymns for the congregation. That way, if ever they need a pianist, I can do it.
Okay. Do you know how to play any church type songs already?
Yes.
Can you play one for me?
I can.
It's simple as you or complicated as you want. Good. So tell me, how do you know to do what you're doing? What are you doing?
It was a lot of work based off of theory.
Okay.
I know the 3 major chords. Of that key. And so I use the inversions with the first note and then inversion. And then down to the 4th, 5th, and then back to the inversion. And then when I would change, I would do the exact same thing for the 4th and 5th.
Good. And then what about the right hand?
The right hand, that I had Andy help me. Normally I was just doing octaves, but then he told me to put in that middle note to kind of cover with whatever chords you're hitting. But then I'm mostly just doing octaves and then a couple of lines.
Good. And then why are you playing in that range on your right hand? Don't fall down and bump your head.
What do you mean?
Dumpy.
What range?
Why are you playing the octave higher than what most people sing?
Oh, I'm supposed to play down here?
I'm asking you a question.
Oh, I have no idea.
It's a good thing to play octave higher. And here's why. If you play the exact note someone's singing, you're not actually reinforcing it, you're actually covering it. Music, because of wave cancellation, do you know what wave cancellation is? Do you know what the noise canceling headphones are? Do you know how they work? They hear whatever frequency is there and they push back with that exact same frequency and cancel it. So when when a quartet is singing all the same note, it's not 4 times as loud. Isn't that interesting? When you guys are all singing, if you had a volume meter and you sang all the same level and you sang 4 notes and then you sang the one same note, it would be a little louder, but it's not 4 times as loud because your voices are canceling. Let me show you. La, 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 la. You notice how when I sing, it covers that up. When I play this, it covers up my voice. Because there are pitches where it's canceling. Now, if a congregation doesn't know a song, then that's fine. You want to reinforce it where the range you're playing in. But the way I've mentioned it to Andy is, it's sort of like you're the picture frame. The picture is the song, and as long as people are singing strong and know the song, they're comfortable with it, you don't need to paint over the picture, you can frame the picture. So you were doing a very good job of framing the picture. Why were you doing the left hand the way you were doing it?
Because I feel like that specific song kind of called for that style.
And tell me what is that specific song? What about that song?
It's kind of loud and broad.
Yeah.
So I kind of use more of a kind of boom,
Kingly
boom.
procession, yeah, so that would be correct. You wouldn't want to necessarily play a flowing left hand or kind of a bland left hand for that. Good, no, I think you did a great job. You're on the right track. So it sounds like what we want to do is just pick some songs each week that you want to work on, and then I will give you some ideas on, again, there's not a right or a wrong to this. It's what's most appropriate, what's good for your level.
So that actually happens to be like the only song I know.
That's fine. That's a great song.
Not
to start
exactly,
with, yeah.
but that key, for some reason, that key is super easy. I don't know why. They got 4 flats, and it's just really easy. When I play in other keys, like C is supposed to be like easy.
Oh no!
And it used
not
to be
for your fingers.
It used to be like because I would just do something.
Yeah.
But other than that, like when I tried to make it a little more elaborate, it was just too difficult.
Yeah. There's no landing points when the key of C. With F, at least you have a B flat in there. But yeah, it's all the same. And so in some ways, C's not a fun key to play in.
No.
Some is. I mean, some of the Bach stuff and some of the Czerny is made for C. But yeah, when you're improvising, I like flats better. D flat's a great key as well. But unfortunately, guitarists don't like those keys because they have to play either jazz chords or capo to be able to play them because of the limitations of the guitar. So good. Do you have another song in mind that you'd like to work on?
Showers of Blessing.
Okay. Now, what's a little bit different about this song that the octaves won't be as comfortable is because it's faster. Ba, 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 with oh, worship the King. You're just playing that, but now you're playing eighth notes. Bum, 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 bum. And to play ba, 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 ba. That's Chopin stuff. He has people play that fast sometimes. So you might have to modify. So we might start off with just a simple arrangement to get the feel of the song, and then we can see some things we can add to it. So do you know how to play it at all?
I do.
Okay. Do you want the music?
No.
What key do you play it in?
In the key that was in the hymn.
B flat.
Which is
or maybe C in your hymn.
It's got two. Yeah. So.
It's which key?
B flat.
B flat. Okay. Good. There shall be shine. You told me you'd never worked on that. You've done something with it.
So I've only been playing piano
You
for
poked out of it a
about,
little bit.
but I've been playing consistently for about like 6 weeks now.
Oh, wow. Good. Okay.
No, I started with church service. They needed a pianist, so I began poking around with the key of C. And then when I got back, I've been working on it really hard.
Good. What we did this morning. We did Rejoice, the Lord is King, to 89. Good. Now, a couple of other things about voicing. Voicing is how you spread the note the part that you're playing them, okay? So, the vocal range for people is usually here. That's kind of like a low bass note. And then for sopranos is about up there. That's about like even the Hallelujah chorus. That's A, but that's G to G is about. So anywhere in here that when you want to play a full chord, that's fine. When you play much lower than this, it gets muddy. When you play much higher than this, it gets thin. So what you do to voice the chord is you move a note up. So that would even be, because you're going, it's kind of muddy down there. You hear how it's thick? Okay. Now, Beethoven wrote that kind of stuff, big chords down here, but the pianos were much thinner sounding back then. They didn't have the big full body and all that stuff. They were usually like cabinet pianos. So it didn't sound as thick and but even if you did that, I'm playing all four at the same time. That's a little thing. Even if I just play the top part of those notes, I'm in the right position. I'll tweak that here. And then I would wait until the second verse to do that pattern because it might be a little confusing for somebody that's not as comfortable with the song, but that's a fun pattern.
I actually got that mostly from listening to you play.
Yeah, and I do that. I usually wait till the second verse unless it's just something everybody knows. But plus you want to have some variety. So you're doing some different things as you go through it. But yeah, you hear your hands are moving a lot faster with this one. Okay, so let's talk about I'm going to just give you some general principles of how to add to your playing skills. Not when, but how. So, you know the primary chords. Okay? And then have you learned substitute chords yet? Did you
Yes
get that
and no.
Okay.
I know them and I actually implemented them a little bit, but
Yeah,
very, very.
So primary chords, I'm gonna,
Basic.
let me just, you want to do A flat or you want me to do it in C? Because it's,
A flat's really easy for
okay,
me, so I would
so
just,
if you
that way I can kind of
okay.
learn something.
So, the primary chords in A flat are,
You got A flat, then you got D flat,
yes,
and then you got E flat.
and in music terminology, you know what those are called? By numbers, there's the
Those are
1, 4, and
1, 4,
5,
and 5.
or the tonic, subdominant, and dominant, if you want to learn that, but it's not so important. But it's 1, 4, and 5. And have I done the teaching on why there are minor chords or why there are major chords? Okay, let me do that because I'll do it in C because it's a little easier to visualize.
Okay.
So the word diatonic, that word means only the notes that are in the key you're playing in.
Okay.
So diatonic key of C, there are no sharps or flats.
No, sir.
Now you can add them, and there are theoretical reasons why you can do it. Okay. So you can make a chord or a triad. That's not a chord. That's a chord, believe it or not. That's a complex chord. But the smallest chord is a 3-note chord, it's triad, 3 and 1. That's one of my biblical references. I think God's all over music. So 3 and 1. So that's a triad. 1, 3, 5. So that's a C major chord. You can make triads on any of the notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1 again. So that's a C major chord. What's that?
That is a minor.
But what's the name of it?
The one that starts with I.
No, just the letter name. I'm sorry.
Oh. That's
It's
a D.
Dorian, and that's how you remember it, because
sorry.
it's fine. Dorian is because it's D. And then what letter name chord is that?
That's E.
E what?
E.
Major or minor?
Do it again. Minor.
Okay. Do you know how to tell other than the sound and the look?
Yes.
How?
Well, because you have a whole step, and you have a whole step.
Yeah,
and you have a,
when I do it in half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So if it's 4 half steps and then 3 half steps, it's a major chord. So if it's 3 half steps and then 4, it's a minor chord. So there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a minor chord. So there's C major, D minor, E minor.
major, and then the next one's also major.
What is that one?
That's F major, G major, and that's an A minor.
Yeah.
Just
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4.
and B minor as well.
Now this one throws
That's
you
like-
off.
that's
This is not
the-
actually a B
the
minor because
augmented?
it's close, the opposite way. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 half steps and 3 half steps. That's called diminished.
Oh, diminished.
That would be B minor diminished. Now, you mentioned augmented. In the major keys, there are not naturally augmented notes. In the minor keys, there are. But augmented would be 4 half steps and 4 half steps.
Okay.
And I love this part about music. Watch this. That's C augmented. That's E augmented. That's G sharp augmented. They're all the same chord.
Nice.
But because they're equidistant, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Once you find one, you found
3 chords. Same is true for diminished chords. Because they're all 1, 2, 3, diminished 7 chords.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's C diminished, E flat diminished, G flat diminished, A diminished.
Wow.
Yeah, Beethoven loved that feature about music. So anyway, the main thing I want you to see was there are 3 major chords, 3 minor chords, and then 1 weird chord, an outlier, okay?
Nice.
So, with A flat, same thing. Okay, so notice this, A flat and F minor. What do you notice about A flat and F minor?
They're using the same 2 notes here.
2 notes, yes, A flat shares 2 notes with F minor. Well, that means sometimes you can use F minor as a substitute chord. Okay? It's not right or wrong, just different. Okay? Now, notice this too. What chord is that?
That is That's an A. Oh wait, no, that's a G. Oh wait, no, that's a C minor.
C minor, yeah. Because in A minor you're going to have A flat major, B flat minor, C flat minor, or C minor, D flat major, E flat major, F minor, G diminished, A flat. So that is A. Now what do you notice about A flat and C minor?
They also share.
What's the most important note in an A flat chord?
The fourth.
No, the most important note in that chord. Is
Oh.
it the A flat, the C, or the E flat?
The A.
The A flat, yeah, that's the name of the chord. It's by definition the most
Yeah.
important. So what do you notice about C minor? It doesn't have that note. So it's not the strongest substitute chord, but sometimes it can be substituted. The strongest substitute chord would be F minor because it shares the A flat.
Okay.
An optional is C minor because it shares two of the notes.
Yes.
Okay, so as an example, not right or wrong, just different. So you can use Amazing Grace, Amazing Grace, as long as it doesn't clash with the melody. Melody is king. So if
Yes.
you do anything that hurts the melody, you need to try something different. So for D flat's the same thing. B flat minor, B flat minor, and then going up would be F minor. Now what do you notice about F minor here? Look at this. A flat share
It's a common chord.
a common chord with D flat. That's why when you heard that before? Why does that sound so natural? Because A minor is a substitute chord for C and for F. So it's just kind of dovetailing from one to the next. And it plays, then it jumps all the way to the 5 chord. So then the 5 chord would be E flat, would be C minor, which again, a shared chord with A flat minor. Now, with E, it's E diminished, but what I say is if you add E and G diminished, it's an E flat 7 chord. So that's what I'm calling to use, is what I teach kids to use for an optional chord or an alternate chord for E flat. Sometimes you just want to make it an E flat 7, okay? And you do that. There shall be showers of blessing. Okay?
With a 7, all a 7 is a substitute on that octave for that 7.
But it's a minor 7th. That's a major 7th. Minor 7th. No, the chord's major, but the 7th quality is minor. Yeah. There are three 7th chords.
Okay.
One is called major 7th. One is called minor 7th, but by definition, by convention, we need minor 7th chord. Then there's something called the dominant 7th, which is a major chord with a minor 7th.
I see.
So major, major, minor, minor, major, minor 7th.
And how would that be spelled out?
C,
On paper. So like this.
just that's what I'm saying. That's it. If you only see a 7th
you
and you
only
don't
see
see a
7th.
major or a minor, it's always a
got
dominant
you.
7th chord.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a
okay.
convention.
Okay.
Yeah, because the dominant 7th is so satisfying that, and theoretically, when you get into, very, very theoretical music, then you'll have to even have more qualifiers. But that's, whenever you see like on a chord sheet, you use G7, it's always a major chord with the minor 7th added to it. Okay? And the reason it's called dominant 7th, in the key of C, the dominant is G, and if I played a G7 with the diatonic notes, that means there's no sharps or flats. That's going to be a major chord with a minor 7th.
Yeah.
So that's why it's called a dominant 7th, because it's the 7th that would be played by the dominant of the key. If I played subdominant 7th, that's a major 7th. See what I'm saying? So, because you can build triads on any note of C, you can also build major 7th chords. That's a major 7th, minor 7th, minor chord minor,
It's a minor.
minor, major 7th. No.
Oh wait.
What did I just call that?
That is the major minor.
Major minor, and it's based on the theoretical name of the 5th of the scale. Tonic.
Oh, the
Dominant. So it's called the dominant 7th because the dominant normally will make this kind of a 7th. minor seventh. That's a half diminished seventh, so don't
Okay.
worry about that. Back to major seventh. Okay. So
So there's only two major sevenths.
seventh chords that occur naturally diatonically.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
when you play a chord like you're in the key of C, standing on the let's do B flat. Come the presence of Christ, my King. That's the one chord, but why am I playing an A flat to make it a dominant seventh? Shouldn't it be that? Standing on the promises of Christ, my King. But why is that sound satisfying? Because
is it a passing note?
it's called a dominant seventh. Now, it's a dominant seventh, and so in theory, it's acting as a secondary dominant. Now, let me show you what I mean. This isn't too important for what you're doing. Just know if the dominant seventh chord style sounds good, you can play it. All right? But if you do your circle of fifths, we've done this before, right?
Yes.
Yeah, make the clock. You've got C, G, D, A, E, B, F sharp, or G flat. Then this would be D flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, and F. So, whatever key you're in, the chord before it and after it on the circle of fifths are the primary chords. Okay. Now, you can also put the first substitute chord in here: A minor, E minor, D minor, and notice those are all in there as well. So all the ones we just put on this little chart over here for A flat, they would also be right here. So the strongest motion in music is down a fifth. So down a fifth is the strongest.
Like.
Yes, yeah. So when they end a lot of symphonies, that's called a, remember the other one, what's that one called? Authentic cadence. It's authentic. It's what's normally sounds good. That is called a plagal cadence. You can also go from 4 to 1, which is actually down a fourth or up a fifth. It's still satisfying, and you hear that at the end of Hallelujah chorus. Hallelujah, hallelujah. It's satisfying, but it's not as strong as if you would have gone, hallelujah. But he didn't want to do that, okay?
Yeah.
So, since going down a fifth is the strongest way to approach any chord, that's the dominant relationship. So, if my next chord in Standing on the Promises is A flat, if I wanted to play the strongest going down a fifth, I would play a B flat and play a B flat seventh, and it becomes a dominant seventh because that's the dominant for the key of E flat. It's almost like we go into the key of E flat for just a few beats. So I'm making my B flat chord, which is the name of my key, but I'm making it a dominant seventh because it leads very strongly to the E flat.
So you can use, so when you're going to a 5,
You're going to any note, but yes, to a
when
5.
you're going to a 5, you can use the dominant 7 in most cases to help you
Yes.
get there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'll learn more about that, but that's why sometimes you're going to want to say, well, wait a minute, Mr. Thomas said that has to be a major 7. No, make it a dominant 7, but theory-wise, it's functioning as a secondary dominant. It's a dominant inside of your key going to another strong chord. And you can do that to a minor chord, to any chord you want to do it to. But the reason we can borrow that chord from another key or from another function is because of that. Okay, so first thing you can do is use primary chords or substitute chords. Okay. So the classic what I teach for this is Amazing Grace. I'll do it in A flat. So you can, if you know your pattern is A flat, A flat, A flat, A flat, I can go. So I went A flat, A flat, D flat, A flat, but in this one I used A flat, F minor, and then I used D flat, and then I used, instead of A flat, I used C minor. See what I did? I'm gonna pattern it out for you. That's like the skeleton, the structure of the song.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you can go through and just substitute. F minor, D, C minor, F minor, we'll leave that one A flat, and then instead of doing a second E flat here, I'm going to make it E flat 7. Okay. Now, I could even
Do you
change
play sevenths in just your right hand?
usually, because it's very dissonant. Do you know the word dissonant?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So if you play a lot, yeah, that's where voicing comes in. If I went like this, it's too thick. Although Beethoven did it, but you could just play those 2 notes. That would be fine. But you can play it. It's usually played to the right hand. So that's F minor. Was blind, but now then I'd play E flat 7. And I might pick blind, an F minor on blind, because blind is a negative thing. So minor tends to be a little more negative, have a little more emotion to it. So the first thing is substitute chords. The second thing is inversions. Okay. Now I could just use the basic chords and just do inversions. By using inversions, I've changed it a little bit.
You use the inversions of every single chord.
Probably 2/3 of them, just to overdo
So you
it.
can use them for even these ones.
Oh, and then you can use the inversions. Yeah, in fact, that's when it's very nice.
Okay.
You can use inversions on the minor, because another thing is creating patterns. For instance, let's say we're going to use this pattern for Amazing Grace: A flat, C minor, D flat, and then A flat, and then F minor, and then A flat, and then E flat 7. Okay? So my pattern will be now watch my inversions. So I used inversions on this one. Why? I created a pattern, a descending bass. So not only did I use inversions, I did it because I wanted to have a pattern. And the pattern kind of reflects the melody, because that's what the melody does too. And then I went back to F minor, so I could go to F, and then this will be, and then watch this one, this will blow your mind. So I'm putting the seventh in the bass. See, there's the. You got to do some adjustment when you do that, but I'm just saying, one good reason to use inversions is because it can help you create patterns, and they sound very natural.
Yes, they do.
Okay, and you were doing that in No Worship the King. You had a lot of patterns in there.
Yes.
So-
the only thing is, I was doing it mostly. It was mostly by theory, but not really that I could explain the way you did.
Yeah. Well, and it's fine. It's main thing that you can hear it and know what to do, and the fact that your ear tells you it sounds good tells you there's a theoretical reason for it. You don't have to know the theory to do it, but it's fun when you know the theory and you go, oh, that's what I'm doing. Wow. So primary chords and substitutions, inversions, and patterns are where I would start, and then. Now, I'm talking about moving patterns, not chord patterns and like how you're playing the chords. Within chords, you've got block. You're beyond that. That's, we're just playing the chord. But sometimes it's kind of fun. You might just want to play a block chord to give it more substance, more like a fanfare type of thing. But you would then up. That's a great song for patterns.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really like the song, which is why I worked.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's one of the only songs that I can actually do.
Yeah, and then
But
Showers of
I worked
Blessing.
hard on that
You're going
song,
to work
trying
on
to
that
figure
one.
it out.
So Showers of Blessing, though, let me just put the subchords down. Just so you got it in your mind. So B flat. What are the primary chords in the key of B flat?
You got B flat, you got E flat,
Yep.
and then you got F.
Yeah.
Major.
F major. So the first substitute chord for B flat would be a minor third lower. So it's G minor, and then the next one would be a major third higher. In other words, the other two notes of the chord. So that would be D minor. So E flat would be C minor, and or would be G minor. F would be D minor or F7, because that would be that diminished chord. So standing on the promises of Christ my King, through eternal ages let his praises spring. Now, this is not a great song for that because it's a strong song, so I wouldn't want to be doing a lot, but just to show you what can be done. Standing on the promises of Christ my King. Now, I use all three of them, but I did it to make a pattern.
Yes.
Standing on the promises of Christ my King. So that's where, now you can do it without, you can just go like this. That's the same thing, you just do it a little more complex. But using the little system here, even just using the inversions helps you make a pattern. Okay? So, think of 2 different ways to play this next time I meet you. Next
Okay.
week, whenever. So, play it however you want to play it your first time. But I want you to then go back and review this and pick some other ways to do it.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Alrighty.
Good. You're off to a great start. How long was our lesson?
I'm not sure. 34.
Okay. I don't want to stoop your brother too much.
Sorry.
No, he's fine.
Thank you very much, Brother Thomas. Nice. Let's see.
You could throw the phone through the auditorium too, if your brother can catch it. We don't have a trampoline though.